Hi beautiful souls, it's Tanya today with another video on this channel talking about gene keys, human design and astrology combined. And I actually just finished filming this video and checked the recording and discovered that my microphone was off. And so I'm refilming this now. Okay, anyways, let's do it. So today we're going to be talking about gene key number 64 because I made a poll a couple of weeks ago, and asked you guys to vote which gene keys you have and which one you'd like to see. And the winner came out as gene key 64 and 63, this programming partner, which is Virgo and Pisces archetypes. So we're going to be doing this after I do the 64. I'll be doing the gene key 63 following along with that. Okay, so gene key 64 is the archetype of Virgo from 1122 to 17 degrees of Virgo, and in human design it's human design gate 64, and gene keys is gene key 64. And I've also made an introduction video to this whole series. I highly recommend that you check out that introduction video first. So I'll give you a link to that up above in the description box below, so you can check that out and then come back and watch this video. It will kind of give you a more comprehensive understanding of how I'm approaching this series. Okay, so this archetype moves from the shadow of confusion to the gift of imagination and the city or the highest destiny of illumination, the aurora. And of course the dream arc totem at the fear level, it's the lobster. The light key or the animal is the jaguar or the leopard. And the jaguar is actually my Mayan astrology spirit animal. In the 64 I-Ching, this is fire over water before completion. Alchemical art balances divergent forces, discovering the ecstatic within the divine. Codon ring, the 64 codon rings. This gene key is associated with the amino acid glycine. It's part of the ring of alchemy. Is the programming partner of this archetype is gene key human design gate 63, which is the sign of Pisces, and the programming partner is the opposite point on the hexagram wheel, the astrology wheel, and it provides a complementary opposite to this archetype. In human design, gate 64 is in the head center, and it forms a channel with the 47 in the ajna called the channel of abstraction. So of course we're going to be starting off first by looking at the traits of the peacock and what your traits may be based on this particular bird. So the peacock is of course known for its beautiful, vibrant feathers that are turquoise and green and blue, and they look like eyes, the patterns of the peacock. In the Egyptian times, the peacock was associated with the sun god and the eye of Horus. And this is because of that eye pattern that we can see there. The correct name for the feathers of the peacock is called a train. The peacock is also a symbol of purity because their feathers have historically been placed upon or tied over wounds to draw out poison and negativity. Probably also because peacocks do eat snakes. They like to eat snakes, and so they can be like that symbol of drawing out or poison, or taking in poison and purifying. The ancient Greeks and the Romans thought that the peacock's tails were the eyes of the stars, kind of like the jaguar. The jaguar was also considered to be, with regards to its spots, wearing a coat of stars by the ancients. The peacock molts its beautiful feathers into more beautiful feathers, and so this can be a symbol of resurrection, because also the peacock is sometimes linked to the phoenix bird because of the way they look very similar, and the phoenix rise from the ashes. And so the 6447 channel is a channel that makes sense of the memories of the past for the purpose of transmutation, transformation. The trains or the feathers of the peacock also have what is called structural coloration. Structural coloration means the production of color by microscopically structured surfaces that is fine enough to interfere with visible light. And the peacock's feathers are actually pigmented with only brown colors, but because of their arrangement and their microscopic abilities, they can actually reflect light so that we see other colors on it, like blue, turquoise, or green. And they're even iridescent as well, so we see different colors from different angles. So there's kind of like this idea of illusion with the peacock, shall we say. It's like, it's not really what you see, right? Colors are not really what we see. Animals see colors differently. The color spectrum is based on light as well. So if you have this archetype, one of your traits may be that you have a vision. And your kind of vision is not like a vision like Gate 9, the Sagittarius kind of vision, which is looking at dreams and bigger hopes and dreams, right? But this kind of vision that you have is visual. You see things, kind of like clairvoyant even. You see your past. You see visions that's coming from your past that the divine is interfering with because it wants to make its way out of you into art or into some kind of expression. You can also have a really great ability to make sense of your past and kind of like draw out the poison that is stuck there. But first, by receding into the body in order to do that, because this archetype is located in the mind. This gate is in the mind, right? And it's part of the abstract right brain. It's the beginning of the abstract thinking or the right brain. So it ignites that vision, but what you're gonna do with that happens in the body, not in the mind. You also may have a gift when it comes to art that has to do with light. That's what I'm feeling here. So kind of like deep sky photography, night sky photography, where you have to play with light, or you may just be really good with colors, shapes, lines, optical illusions maybe. Okay, so now let's have a look at the shadow frequency of this archetype, which is called confusion. So confusion is considered to be the suppression of your inner light. And light doesn't exist without darkness, without the shadows. We need shadows in order to be able to see light, right? And you can see this in art. You know, in art, you need to have some shadows and you need to have some lights. You need to have that contrast. And so when you're suppressing your inner light, you're actually also suppressing your inner darker shadow parts of you. So if we think about confusion as something that precedes order, like before we can have a big bang, you know, we have to have these atomic particles that are kind of swirling around before they come together and they boom into creation, into something new. So chaos, confusion has to precede creation or order. So kind of like the year 2020, last year, where it was quite a year of confusion because something is about to change, something is about to be reborn. And the shadow of confusion happens when you are trying to make sense of the chaos, that's something that's about to, the process that's about to create something new. When the truth is that you can't really make sense of that because our mind, you know, our society has become so scientific that we feel like through the tools and the technology that we have, we can make sense of anything. And if we can't make sense of that thing, then it doesn't exist. Thinking can drive us insane when we're thinking over and over again, but we just can't find the answer to the confusion. So, and these confusions, when it comes to, you know, your life, they are things that we would call fears or pain, the shadow parts of you. And so some of your fears are going to be coming from your ancestors. Your ancestors have fears within their own life that they've imprinted onto you. But the way that they cope with those fears, you may have also taken that on. So you may have taken on some coping mechanisms that doesn't really work. So that's the coping mechanism of using the mind for survival. It's because fears is coming from like fearing death or fearing that a relationship is not going to work. And ultimately it's the fears of ending, fear of something dying. And you know, this may be something that we cope by trying to understand or trying to use our mind to why that's happening. And so this causes a lot of confusion because fear is rooted in the body. Pain is in the body. It's in the emotional body. So if we are trying to work with or understand or even heal something that's in the body through the mind, it'll never work. It doesn't work. And hence you suppress your inner light. by not looking at your shadow. And so that's why Virgo archetypes can be associated with like mental anxiety, because they're trying so much to make sense of something that can't be made sense of, like your pain, your body, your fears. But Virgo archetype is also, the sixth house is also associated with the mind, body, soul connection. So there's potential there. An example of this would be, let's say you experience in your present life a breakup, right? Typical situation is you experience a breakup and you feel pain, but you, instead of dealing or sitting with that pain, you ask yourself, why is this person breaking up with me? What really happened here? Why do I feel so bad? Why did they do that? Why did they do this? Why can't they be with me? What did I do wrong? And that it leads to self-doubt. Confusion leads to self-doubt. And so the truth is that like you can't really know like why somebody did something to you the way that they did, because part of the time they're probably not conscious, or they probably themselves don't even know. And even if they told you something, and when you hear what they say, part of that may be true and may also not be true. And so it can go in this biofeedback loop that really gets nowhere, when all you have to do is get into the body and just feel the pain that you're feeling that has come from that breakup. That's when magic can arise, when you stop thinking and you feel the pain that you feel. And so this archetype has a great artist potential, because Richard Rudd calls the imagination, which is at the gift frequency, the art of life, and he calls illumination at the city level enlightened poetry. So we do see some artistic potentials there. And by artist, I don't mean that you have to be a visual artist, you have to dance. It can be like living an artistic lifestyle or artistic life. There's potential for that. But all great art comes from the transmutation of the pain. The pain resurfaces and it creates beautiful art, authentic art. And so the confusion frequency means that when you're not feeling your pain, you can be mimicking your life, mimicking your art, just kind of like copying, because it's easier that way, and it also can be, in alignment with the status quo. Also, but another way of looking at the more reactive nature of the confusion is the artist who feels entitled to expressing their pain and their emotions onto others. They feel that it's right for me to just dump my emotions and my feelings onto another person because it's what I feel. It's kind of the mad, entitled artist, and that can cause problems in relationships. It may even cause abuse. It may even cause like aggression to happen. And so how can we turn this archetype up to the gift frequency? So of course, the gift frequency is going to begin when you sit and you feel your pain. And so any situations in your life that brings you pain, or it's the pain from the past, the pain from your ancestors even, if you could allow that to rise to the surface. And this doesn't mean that you have to feel your pain in an uncomfortable way. This is about feeling your pain and giving yourself love in the process, like embracing yourself and hugging yourself and saying, I know where this pain is coming from. I'm gonna embrace all parts of me. I love my pain because it's gonna help me transform. It makes me stronger. I love myself. I hug myself. I hold myself. I give myself love. And it becomes easier. Rather than, I'm feeling this pain, but I know I have to feel it because I want it to go away, but it feels so bad. What am I gonna do? Oh, it's so bad. I wanna do so many other things to cope with this pain, but I can't. So instead of feeling pain with resistance and stress, you can feel the pain with ease, and that would be the best way to do it. Just give yourself the love as you're feeling your pain. And when that happens, when it rises to the surface, it will become transformed, it will become transmuted, and it will transform you. So when you do this, what you're actually doing is you're releasing the energy that you had initially put into thinking, into the mind, the confusion, trying to make sense of it, and it goes nowhere. You take that wasted energy and you let it go free. You let that shadow, that darkness of confusion go free. And when you do that, you allow space for new energy to emerge. And this is the energy of light that finally emerges from the darkness. You can even be enlightened when you're doing this as well, because you're going to be, light is going to come forth. You're going to see things in a different way. Kind of like the peacock's feathers that need light to shine so we can see its colors, right? So this inner light that's coming out, this is your creativity. This is your art. Art is when you make space for the light from the darkness. But you have to embrace the darkness first. So this can come out as visual art. You know, this can be a painting of your pain. This can be a song, singing from your pain. This can be writing out your pain. This can be creating a lifestyle that expresses your pain. This can be service to other people, coming from a place of understanding pain, for example. And your art may follow a sequence of archetypes. The first archetype that it may follow will be that of the underworld, the plutonic things, the shadows, the darkness, the demons. So they may look or feel heavy and, you know, maybe a little bit scary or have that darkness and depth to them. But eventually you begin to sing, write, and paint the angels. Imagination also means that you're willing to go down a path that is risky, that is unknown, that has not been trodden down before, because your eye, right, is having a vision and it can see the way that it wants to live. It can see a house, what it looks like that you want to live in, a place where you want to live, an environment or an atmosphere in which you want to live. And you're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen and come true, because it's coming from something so much deeper inside of you and you want to express that out, but you see it first with the eye. And so you see the colors, you know, the movements, the atmospheres, the shapes, and you make that your reality, you make that into your lifestyle, and it's your vision, right? It's your vision. Nobody can see it. Nobody has seen it before. Only your mind's eye can see it, and that's why it's new. It's risk-taking a little bit. It's so different. It's unknown to the world. And I think Richard Rudd himself has this archetype, the 64, as his sun. He's a Virgo sun. And he says that he sees the sequences of the gene keys forming in front of his eyes, in his mind's eye, before he creates them. And then he sees, you know, the whole genetic profile. And then he brings them out into the gene keys sequence. So when we're looking at the city, the destiny, highest destiny of this archetype, illumination means that you have that imagination of the gift, but now it's an imagination without the eye. So first it was just, you know, you expressing your pain, it's coming out visually. But now it becomes no eye, meaning that you're now expressing yourself from a divine source. So you become a channel for the divine to send its messages, to send its visions, its imagination through you. This can also come in terms of transmission. It can come through words just as much as a visual. Especially with your words. I'm going to read a quote from Richard Rudd about this gene key. He says that it is the silences between the words that carry the transmission. If a teacher is really gifted, the pattern of their speech will calm the listener's mind, inducing a kind of trance in which truth can be transferred. So it's not about the words that you use. It's not about the accuracy or the connotations of the words that you're using to communicate your message, because words are something that we've created in our society. But the divine, I mean, has to use our words, but it's not about the meaning of the word that matters. It's about the trance, the no thinking, the relaxation that happens while you are listening, while you're hearing a person who has a 64 transmitting to you. It's kind of like, you know, like meditation, like affirmations that you do, or visualization meditation, right? That the person is saying something to you, but it's ultimately you're seeing beyond what they're just saying. You have to be really relaxed in order to receive fully the transmission. So kind of like, you know, the different words that Richard Rudd uses in the gene keys for the shadow, the gift, and the city, it's not really about what the words mean. But when you say the words, there's a frequency that comes out. And that's why he's chosen these specific words for specific gene keys, because when you say it, you feel it. Try it. Try saying illumination. You feel, it's not what is illumination? It's not about that. It's like illumination, the frequency, the way the words penetrate into you. Yes, that's what we're talking about here. Zen Kuan is another example of this, and a Zen Kuan is like a Zen Buddhist riddle that, you know, those riddles that it's like the answers make absolutely no sense, because it's not about making sense of the answers. These riddles are meant to stop your thinking. So if you try to make sense of the riddles through the mind, you'll never understand it. It's about surrendering to emptying the mind to feel. When you feel, you won't know or you won't understand, but you will feel the essence of what these Zen teachers are trying to convey. Another kind of transmission is poetic language. Have you ever spontaneously spoken poetically to someone? And I say spontaneously because you're not planning it. It's not coming from inside of you. You're directly taking a transmission. And it's so poetic. The person that's listening to you says, I don't get it. I'm confused. I don't know what you're saying. If they say that, it's because they are in the shadow frequency of maybe this gene key or some of their other gene keys. If they're at the gift or the city level, they may feel what you say. They won't be using their mind to try to understand it like at the shadow frequency. They'll feel you. Tantra and yoga are both considered associated with this archetype. I went to a Tantra workshop, and I remember there was this one class where the speaker was saying that everybody who's come to this Tantra workshop, this Tantra festival, we're all just a bunch of weirdos loving each other. Because Tantra makes no sense to the person who tries to understand it from their mind. The things you do in Tantra, if you immediately try to question, like, why are we doing this with the mind right away, it will stop the process. Because it's coming from true trust, openness, love, holding space, that you will experience something outside of you coming through you, coming energetically through you, and changing you. It can only happen when you receive the divine, you know? And I know that I'm somebody who, for a large part of my life, I'm in my mind, right? And I went to Tantra right away. I mean, it felt like the right time for me to go into Tantra because I wanted to get out of my mind. I wanted to be more embodied. And so therefore, I knew that I'm gonna be skeptical and I'm gonna be like, what are we gonna do with this exercise? But because I was there with the purpose of really getting into my body, I stopped those kinds of questions and really allowed whatever needed to happen. And that surrender, that openness to the wildness of what could happen is what makes the transformation happen, is what makes the transmutation happen. It can only be understood with the heart. Yes, with the heart, with the feelings. So this is your service, you know, with this archetype. Your service is divine creation, is to create something that doesn't belong to you, that doesn't belong to your body, but it is there to inspire others. And I'm gonna read another quote from Richard Rudd. He says that you are to be an easel for the imagination of the universe itself. You're the blank easel for the universe to transmit their imaginations onto you. That's beautiful. So that's it for this video, guys. That's gonna be my interpretation of this archetype. Of course, if you have this, also make sure to watch your programming partner, which is Gene Key Gate 63. That's the Pisces archetype. And if you have this archetype also, do comment below and let us know what your experiences have been. And if you haven't, yet subscribed and you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much for coming along, watching my videos, and kind of supporting me on this journey. Sending much love to you guys. And I do readings. You can visit my website to get more information on that. I do combo astrology, human design, gene key readings. I'd be super excited and happy to do one for you. Yeah, so that's it, beautiful souls. Bye.